The wisdom of the ancients is not locked in the past, buried beneath ruins, or trapped in crumbling manuscripts. It moves through us even now, carried in the rhythm of the seasons, the rising of the sun, the return of the moon, the pulse of the tide. It speaks in a language older than words, a language we once knew by instinct, but have since allowed to fade beneath the noise of modern life. Yet even in a world that seems consumed by speed, distraction, and disconnection, that call has not fallen silent. It waits with patience, whispering through the silence between thoughts, rising in those moments when we pause and feel that something essential is missing. Every generation faces a choice to ignore the call of the old ways and live only by the surface, or to listen and step back into a deeper current that runs beneath the ordinary. In truth, most people sense it but cannot name it. It is the feeling of standing in a forest and sensing presence, not by eyes, but by something older watching. It is the pull of a story heard long ago that feels strangely familiar, as if it were not being told to you, but remembered from within you. It is the restlessness that comes not from boredom, but from a hunger for meaning that shallow distractions cannot feed. This is the call across time. It is not nostalgia, it is not romanticizing a distant past, it is an awakening to a continuity that has never been broken, only forgotten. To answer it is to rediscover that wisdom is not information to be consumed, but a way of being to be lived. If the call is the beginning, then the seasons are its first teachers. There was a time when every sunrise and every shift of the wind spoke directly to the human heart. The ancients lived not by clocks or calendars, but by the unfolding rhythm of the natural world. Spring was renewal embodied, summer the tide of abundance, autumn the profound reminder of release, and winter the sanctuary of rest and dreaming. To them, time was a wheel turning endlessly, not a line racing toward exhaustion. Today, that language has been almost entirely forgotten. We treat seasons as weather reports, complaining of cold or heat without hearing the deeper invitations. But the language of the seasons has not disappeared. It waits to be remembered, to notice light changing, to feel the inward pull of winter or the outward surge of summer, is to relearn words in that ancient tongue. When we honor these cycles, we reclaim not only our connection to the earth, but also our own inner rhythms. Stories deepen this bond. Long before psychology, myths carried truths that guided humanity through fear, loss, change, and rebirth. A hero's descent into the underworld is not just an old tale, but a reflection of our own crises, when we are stripped bare and forced to face the unknown. A goddess's cycle of death and renewal is not only a mythic drama, but a mirror of grief and healing in our lives. When treated as entertainment, myths fade, but when seen as maps, they become luminous. They invite us to locate ourselves within them, to ask whether we are the seeker at the threshold, the wanderer resisting the call, or the one lost in the dark forest ready to discover hidden strength. By walking these maps, we realize our struggles are not mistakes, but essential passages, and we are never alone in them. Every myth is a lantern carried by those who came before, lighting the path for those who follow. But myth does not float above the earth. It is always rooted in place. To our ancestors, Zoo, place was not backdrop, but identity itself. Mountains guarded memory, rivers carried story, forests offered sanctuary. To belong meant to know the names of winds, the habits of animals, the lore of stones. In losing that bond, we have become wanderers in a world paved and silenced. We navigate cities but not horizons, know celebrities but not the trees outside our homes. This exile leaves us restless, yet the wisdom of place waits. Evene's city's land remembers. A patch of garden, a corner of sky, a story of the ground beneath your feet can begin to restore belonging. When we re-enter relationship with place, we stop drifting. We become participants in the living story of the earth, rooted once more in a world that holds us. Belonging flows naturally into ritual, for ritual is the art of making presence sacred. The ancients did not separate the sacred from the ordinary. Lighting a fire at dawn, sharing a meal, pouring water into the earth were all acts of reverence. Today we treat life as mechanical, days as flat sequences, and the absence of ritual leaves us unanchored. Yet the soul craves it. Ritual does not require elaborate temples or complex gestures. It requires attention and intention. To light a candle and mark the gift of a new day, to pause in gratitude before a meal, to release worries into the night sky, these are rituals that transform existence. They remind us that life itself is ceremony, that every action is a chance to weave meaning into the fabric of time. To reclaim ritual is to remember that even the smallest act can bridge the visible and the invisible, the ordinary and the sacred. And ritual was never solitary. It belonged to the circle. Human beings once lived woven together, supported in hardship, celebrating in abundance, guided by elders, bonded by shared story. Festivals were acts of renewal for the whole community. Today, though we are surrounded by people, loneliness has become one of our deepest wounds. Social networks connect us superficially while leaving us empty of true belonging. The wisdom of the ancients shows us that community is created by choice and intention. Storytelling, music, shared meals, rituals of the turning year, these are the acts that reweave the broken threads. We need not replicate old villages, but can form new circles wherever sincerity and presence exist. When we gather with meaning, we heal the wound of isolation and remember that we are not meant to walk alone. Yet belonging to others requires first belonging to ourselves, and this brings us to the wild within. The ancients understood that wildness was not chaos to be suppressed, but a teacher to be respected. It appeared in tricksters, who disrupted complacency, in initiations that pushed young people beyond safety, in rites that demanded confrontation with fear. The wild within us is instinct, passion, imagination, and shadow. Modern life tries to tame it, rewarding control and conformity, silencing the unruly energies that keep us alive. But the wild doth not die. It stirs in dreams, in sudden rebellions, in surges of creativity that refuse to be caged. To welcome it back is to recover authenticity. Chimi in nature, creative expression, silence, and shadow work are modern thresholds through which the wild returns. By honoring it, we restore vitality, balancing discipline with freedom, order with mystery. Without it, we wither. With it, we come alive. All of these strands, the call across time, the language of the seasons, the maps of myth, the wisdom of place, the sanctity of ritual, the weaving of community, the fire of the wild, lead us to a single truth. Ancient wisdom is not about retreating into the past. It is about carrying timeless guidance into the present and future. To walk forward with the ancients is to treat their voices as companions rather than relics. It is to live with presence, to make choices that honor cycles rather than resist them, to weave ritual into daily life, to build community with intention, to let wildness inspire creativity, and to root ourselves in the places we inhabit. It is to understand that we are stewards of wisdom, holding a flame that must be tended and passed on. Walking forward with the ancients means refusing the shallow pace of a world obsessed with speed and choosing instead a life guided by rhythm and meaning. It means recognizing that technology and modern knowledge can serve us without severing us from earth, story, and spirit. It means seeing ourselves as part of a greater narrative, one that began before us and will continue after us. A narrative we are called to shape with courage and reverence. The wisdom you seek is not hidden in distant places or locked away in forgotten texts. It lives in your breath, in your body, in the cycles of light and darkness, in the myths that stir your imagination, in the places you walk, in the rituals you create, in the circles you build, in the wildness you embrace. To walk forward with the ancients is to recognize that you are both seeker and bearer, both student and guardian of truths that will never fade. May you hear the call, may you answer it, and may you carry it forward into a world that needs it more than ever.